I pretty well worked my way up through the industry since graduating from college with a degree in geology. I went to work in a consulting environment for an engineering company, working for clients early on, working on large engineered projects, traveled the world as a geologist. Became more experienced with construction and construction-related projects, energy projects in particular, and just slowly worked my way up from being a field geologist to a project manager to an office manager, and then left the technical ranks, and thereafter pretty well pursued a career in management. So nothing glamorous or particularly exciting, just driven overall by a passionate interest in the business that we're in. EarthTech is a consulting and engineering company specializing in primarily environmental issues and problems globally. We work for a large number of clients, both public sector and private, working primarily on either designing or building facilities that either provide clean water or clean wastewater, or provide remediation services for cleaning up environmental problems. It's a pretty large fully dimensioned firm. We work for thousands of clients in dozens of countries around the world. And it's a great business. We feel good about our contribution to the improving the condition of the planet. We work on a lot of very interesting projects. And I think that overall, we're very, very much at the forefront of the whole sustainability and green initiative that is finally sweeping the planet today. It's interesting, the current interest in green and sustainability is really driven by a desire to take a complete look at a project, not just the various pieces of it. For example, we're not just dealing with planning, which is separate from construction, which is separate from operation, whether you're talking about a manufacturing facility, or you're talking about a power plant, or you're talking about a house, for example. But rather, we're taking a much more complete view of the project from cradle to grave, or from birth to death, and all of the attendant costs and impacts associated with the project. The old term for this was life cycle analysis, not just a single piece of it, and that's really, I think, at the heart of our role in sustainability, is taking a look at all of the direct and the indirect aspects of a project to ensure that the best decisions are being made from a total or a holistic approach, as opposed to allowing just the components to drive the decision making. And I think that the current interest is exciting, and certainly I believe is a long-term permanent trend. I think we have a long way to go in terms of overall acceptance of the costs and the time associated with a truly sustainable approach, as opposed to what we've been practicing in the past. So our firm is really at the center of this, either in helping with the planning of the projects, or in the actual design, construction, and operation. For example, we are, one of our largest businesses is in water and water treatment facilities, and we really look at how long the plant will be operating, what its operating costs are, not just in terms of chemicals and manpower, but energy usage, how much of the energy of the plant can be produced by the plant itself, what type of recycling benefits can we have to minimize the exportation of waste, and we're quite good at it. So we're designing many plants today that if they're not self-sufficient, they're very, very close to it. And if there is any water discharge, it can be made to be as clean as we want. And often cases cleaner than when we receive the water. Well, I think probably all of us are a bit guilty of some degree of greenwashing. It's hard to claim that every aspect of your company's operations is being run as efficiently as it can with regard to impact to the environment. I don't care how many years a firm has been at it, there are always opportunities for improvement. Part of the confusion, though, I think is driven by a lack of universal acceptance in terms of what does green mean and what is sustainable, and are there degrees of adoption that are acceptable, or is there just one absolute standard? And of course, the answer is that any degree of incorporation of a green or sustainability or environmental awareness is preferred over none at all. So we'll take whatever we can get. But what we're seeing now, there are more and more companies that are, first of all, interested in beginning the process of incorporating environmental achievement into their overall company-wide operations. That's a good starting point. Let's get started first in terms of understanding how we might minimize environmental impact, and then let's begin to roll it out step at a time. We don't have to knock the ball out of the park initially, but it is incremental, and and it is compounding. So you build upon your prior successes as well. Some firms, I think, and industries, not only embrace the concepts, but embed it in the core values of the company itself. And those are probably the true leaders globally in terms of incorporation of sustainable design and planning and operations. But there's a lot of interest, and there's a lot of progress being made today. And I've been waiting for it for all my career, and it's nice to see that it's not just a fashion, because there is a cost, of course, and an incremental cost, and it's nice to see that more and more companies and governmental entities are willing to pay the price in order to be more responsible stewards of the environment. I think my perspective helps. It's not quite as obvious as it may seem, but I think rather the very nature of the work that we do and the way that we grow and change as a company makes us really much more central to this issue than others. I mean, we provide consulting services to our clients on these issues, and we've been doing it for decades. So whether it be how do we clean up contamination as a result of prior irresponsible behavior, or how do we build a new facility that won't repeat those environmental mistakes of the past. We have many environmental scientists as part of our staff, and about half of the work that we do globally is in this arena of environmentalism and in terms of helping companies build a better product or do it in a manner that mitigates impact on the environment. So it's the nature of the work that we provide and our employees are proud of that fact. Now, that being said, are we as green as we can be? No, we're not. We have ongoing initiatives that require incremental progress year after year. I'm not sure that there is an ultimate state that can be achieved in any company, but that you have to constantly revisit and reevaluate, how you incorporate environmental impact into your daily operations. And believe me, we are not nearly as far progressed as we could be in this area. It's both. It's both. More often than not, we are hired because of our recognized expertise in this area. But I think we're quite good at pointing out additional benefit that can be derived by a client on a project that wasn't intended necessarily to have an environmental element of it, but that could. And what's changing now, of course, is the receptiveness on the part of the clients to these ideas of incorporating an element of sustainable design into their programs. I would say in the last 10 years, now I'm primarily talking about in the U.S. now. I think Europe has been quite far ahead of us for many years in terms of environmental stewardship. But we're getting there, and we have a long way to go. But it's nice to see the broad adoption of these concepts. We are very good at providing what we call turnkey or complete project delivery. Our business is essentially solving problems for our clients. They tend to be in the areas of adequate clean drinking water and wastewater treatment and environmental restoration of a whole variety of types. And I think our ability to be able to solve a problem and to provide services to a client from cradle to grave or beginning to end is really our competitive advantage. We are not limited by just being able to handle one piece of the issue, but we can actually stay with the project through its entire life cycle, and that's our competitive advantage. I think integrity has to be the number one. We are licensed professionals in our business, and I think that we have to, above all else, adhere to the professional standards of our profession. But I think other values that enable us and others of our peers to be successful would include collaboration. We have to work in teams in order to be successful. We don't operate in an isolated fashion. And you have to embrace, collaboration as a core value to be successful in this business. And your ability to work together in teams really can, in most cases, define your ability to succeed in this business. Agility is another key value that I think is a component of success, of professional success. Our industry, like many others, has experienced a lot of change in the last, over the decades, and your ability to respond to those changes, I think, provides sort of an enduring test of your success in this business. So collaboration, agility, integrity, and I think perseverance probably is another key value that's important. We work on very difficult assignments, assignments that don't initially have an obvious solution. And I think an individual or a company's ability to persevere until an acceptable solution is derived is an important characteristic of success as well. I think I'm pretty well in it right now. It's the globalization of the marketplace has presented enormous opportunities to firms everywhere, but it's also proving to be a very difficult transition. Your ability to function in multiple markets simultaneously is a challenge, and it really tests your organization's preparedness, dealing with different cultures and different approaches to sort of life conditions is difficult. And we tend to bring our our perspective of just being we're an American company, so our American perspective gets tested every day because an American approach is not, of course, always the right way. And learning that and embedding it into the company's culture has been difficult, and it's an ongoing process. So I'm pleased with the progress that we've made in this area, but again, we have a lot of work to do still to transform the company to where we need it to be. And I think this is a good thing, by the way, for our firm, not a bad thing. Oftentimes, globalization is used in a very negative context, and when viewed solely from the perspective of the impact on a community or a single society. But for many of us, in learning to work in many different countries and cultures is a tremendous benefit of being in the business today, and our employees really appreciate it as well. Oh, they're just almost too numerous to mention. I'll give you one example. In the U.S. here, we are generally, I think, a pretty open society. We share and exchange information freely. It's becoming even more so that way, and yet. In some cultures, some Asian cultures in particular, that is not a desired attribute, and we have to be careful that our willingness to be open with our personal information is not necessarily embraced by others. That's one example. Our reliance on contract law as defining our relationship with our clients here in the U.S. Is really not the standard of how business is conducted in many other parts of the world. The Middle East, Eastern Europe, some parts of Asia. In some cases, there are no well-defined legal systems that support contract law. So your ability to do work in these environments is much more framed by your ability to forge trusting personal relationships than relying upon the letter of the contract. What I like about management as a career path is the diversity of issues that you confront daily. I'm not in any way pigeonholed or restricted to one, say, aspect of problem solving, but rather I deal with a whole diverse suite of issues, and the learning process in management never stops. And probably for me, that's the most fulfilling and I think sustaining element of management. There's really not a week that goes by that I'm not dealing with some new aspect of a problem or a challenge or an opportunity in the business. And it's that constant environment of learning and growing that is the main reason I think I was attracted to management, and I continue to be thrilled to come to work every day. I think dealing with the legal aspects of the business in some cases a necessary evil. Unfortunately, we do operate in a litigious society, particularly here in the U.S., but increasingly in other parts of the world. And dealing with real or threatened litigation and dispute resolution is sometimes not the most enjoyable part of the business. It is a necessary part, so I think any good manager has to be comfortable with dispute resolution, and hopefully, most of us will deal with it without having to resort to litigation. But I think we all get an education one way or another in terms of that aspect of the business. What's best for our clients and what's best for our employees. And I think just about every significant management decision made is tested in those two contexts. In our business, which is one of the main fundamental differences between ours and a manufacturing business, is that our assets are our human assets. We don't collect plant and equipment and machinery and inventory. In some ways, our assets go home every night, and we need to make sure that they come back the next morning. And so I think the happiness and the fulfillment of our staff has to be a top priority, because without them, we cease to do business at all. So in a professional services industry like ours, and it's really no different whether you're talking about accounting services or engineering services or other forms of consulting services, we as management must be keenly focused upon the welfare and the personal and professional growth of our staff as the top priority. That alongside with the interests of our clients. And generally, I would say those two are mutually aligned. What's good for our clients is good for our staff, and vice versa. So we have good alignment in terms of the services we provide and the health and happiness and welfare of our staff. It's seat of the pants learning for those folks that are so inclined that way already. You will have a competitive advantage in your career. I can't emphasize enough the importance of being organized. Organized in your thinking as well as organized in your activity. And most of us, are not taught organization in school. Not to the level that we need to have it. I'm not sure it can be, really taught any other way than just through real life experience. But, a well-organized employee will catch my attention, and I will notice that, because I can see the obvious benefits of organization. Particularly time organization. Is someone particularly well prepared for the opportunity that they have or not? And all of us have gone through the unfortunate experiences of not having been adequately prepared, and hopefully those become learning experiences and we grow from that. But time management is extremely important. And one aspect I think that goes particularly unnoticed is your ability to balance your work life and your personal life. Because time management is not exclusively related to getting the tasks done that you need to have accomplished at home, but rather are you allowing also adequate time to balance the other needs in your life, particularly your personal relationships. And so we push that quite hard, that work-life balance is a very, very important component of, I think, professional success. And the stronger personal life balance that you have, the more successful you'll be in your career. You can't just feed one side of the equation. So again, I think it's a perpetual learning process, and we all could do a little bit better at time management. But I think to be successful in today's corporate world, it has to be a skill that you hone quickly in your career. Yeah, I have one really good piece of advice. Listen well, because I've learned over the years that the key to excellent client service is paying attention first and foremost to what your client really wants. And so many times, you know, we don't listen very well, and we get crosswise with our clients because we didn't listen very well. So listen, and then listen again, and make sure that your understanding of what they want and what they need is as complete as it can be. And the greater your understanding, I think the greater your ability to deliver exceptional service. Even in today's electronic age, I prefer face-to-face contact. I think that while we have many more tools for enhancing effective communications today, they're just that. They're just tools, and they're less effective than what you can accomplish face-to-face. In my role, I think it's important that my employees and my clients see me, and they hear what I have to say directly, that it's every time that you rely upon either an electronic or other form of communication, it's always subject to filtering and interpretation, and there's no confusion, at least the opportunity for confusion is reduced when you deliver your message face-to-face. That's not practical, obviously, to do every time in a large company such as mine. I mean, we have almost 8,000 employees, so I can't engage in each one of them directly on every issue. But I make sure that I have, I'd say 25 or 30% of my time is spent on communication. Making sure that and it's two-way, by the way. It's not just my ability to impart my vision and my message to our employees, but I need to listen to what they have to say to make sure that I don't become isolated in my view of what's important to the company. We don't seek out MBAs as the number one hiring criteria, but we do value folks that have the MBA background. I think above all else, it implies a broader understanding of the business environment in which we operate. So if I'm going to be hiring a mid-level manager for an engineering practice, I will place a higher value on a prospective employee that not only has the management experience and, say, the technical background, but also would bring to the position an MBA. I think that it provides a more solid background in the business environment. So I do value an MBA. I think though that it's only of value to me when it has been tempered and molded by real life experience. So probably the highest valued commodity to me are folks with an MBA and, say, 5 to 7 years work experience. That's sort of the golden, most desirable aspect of our hiring curve is that 5 to 7 year work experience person. It's so important to pick up that work experience, and you know, I would advise any MBA graduate to view the first 5 years as just an extension of their learning environment at school. That first 5 years and your willingness to take on any assignment available to you as an opportunity to learn and to grow I think, is an essential ingredient to a successful career. And they have to be careful that they don't misinterpret, you know, what those executives are saying. You know, what they should be hearing is, instead of hearing, "Gee, I'm disappointed in you. I don't have enough confidence in you to give you the job that you want." What they should be hearing is, "We like you enough that we're willing to invest in you, and we need to make sure that you pick up the requisite work experience in order for you to enhance your success in the management role that we have in mind for you, which means, we want you on the factory floor. We want you in a sales position. We want you in an administrative position. We want you in a client management role at a low level first, so you can pick up those skills that we know you weren't taught at graduate school. And I think that balancing the perspective in terms of the sequence of steps necessary to further your learning is a key understanding that needs to be imparted upon to your graduate students. Well, I'm really driven by making a difference on the planet. I always have been, and that's why I'm in the business that I'm in. And I want to make sure that when I pass, that the planet will be a better place as a result of my having been here for a short while. And I think a lot of folks in our industry are motivated by the same way. We really. It's a shame that engineering has suffered, as a career of choice over the last couple of decades, because more than anything, I just think we're in such a terrific position to make a positive contribution, and not just to the built environment, but to the natural environment as well. So it doesn't have to be, for example, chemical engineering is such a fundamental skill towards being able to improve our environmental condition. So, people ask me, or I do some work with some schools in terms of their curriculum, and said, environmental science is a good career background, but you really want to make a difference, you need to go into engineering, because you need to understand how to construct a system that will work and that will deal with the problem at hand. Probably, my grandfather was my role model and remains that way. I mean, he's no longer alive, but he was an immigrant to this country, and ultimately was a farmer, but a highly educated man, and made sure that he made a difference, had an impact on the people's lives around him, and he was my role model growing up, and he still to this day is one that I respect, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to spend the time with him that I did. I don't like a lot of management books. They're more self-serving than they are wise. There are certainly some good authors, but I don't read a lot of management books. I may be curious about personalities, but I think the various curriculum and contributions, say from HBR from Harvard Business Review is an excellent resource for management. But I'd be careful not to get too. I don't think you can learn from a single book what it's going to take to be a successful manager. You have to. I think you have to learn it through experience, and you have to be willing to cobble together as many of those experiences as you can, and so I think another key aspect of a career in management is to make sure you avail yourself of every opportunity that you can, and you ought to view each step in your career as incremental learning benefit to you in your career, and that's exactly the way you ought to look at it. Is how much can I learn from this step, and is it in an area that I don't know much about? And if the answer is yes, boy, I would take the opportunity. At EarthTech, I was brought in several years ago to succeed the former CEO. That person presided over a period of great growth in the company through acquisition, and as a result of that growth, its culture became less well defined. And so for the past 4 years, I've been working very diligently at reestablishing a culture of the company. So what does it mean to be an EarthTech employee? And that has been a huge, that's probably one of the most challenging yet rewarding tasks that I've taken on in my career. And I really am thrilled that I've had the opportunity to do that, because not many managers do. But here you have a large and by most measures a successful company, but one that finds itself in the position it did at the time through acquisition of many smaller companies, each bringing their own predecessor personalities to the mix. So I'd be able to start from scratch and say, okay, what are the values most important to us that we will espouse as our core values, and built around our mission, and to be able to build up the business processes that reinforces those values day in and day out, so that today we can say, here's what it means to be an EarthTech employee. You know, I embrace excellence in everything I do. You know, I'm committed to teamwork and to client service, and all of this is put together in my commitment to make a sustainable improvement on the natural environment, and that's what we're about. And today, I think most employees understand that here at EarthTech, that's who we are. So it's been very satisfying to me to be able to have done that. It's a long-term project. We're not by no means finished, but I think the fundamental foundational work is done now, and that was great. That was very satisfying. I don't think I would. I made mistakes along the way. Some were painful, but all of them were provided to a cumulative learning. I love that I've reached the state that I currently have in my career, and I look forward to what's next for me in that process. I did learn, I think early on by accident, but I think that you know, a good personal life, work-life balance is important, and I think that, you know, so for the two most important aspects of my life are my family and my work, and I think that I've been able to balance those quite well, and as a result, I've had a prosperous and very happy life, and I'm glad it's worked out the way it has for me. I've been lucky. I would lower your expectations and be willing to take on any assignment. Don't be afraid of the unknown or the unpredicted. The more you try to plan and manage your career, I think the more unhappy you will be. The more spontaneous you are and the more open you are to new learning experiences, that's going to be the source of your not only your advancement, but also your happiness. If you embrace learning and you're willing to take on new assignments, particularly those that move you out of your comfort zone, you know, that's the ticket to the top, in my view. The more calculating you are in managing your career, I think the greater the opportunity for disappointment. Because in my life, and that's really all I have much to go on, is key steps in my advancement came from areas that were least predicted or anticipated. I left my industry twice in my career. I think this is my fifth or sixth company that I've worked with, and twice I've left the engineering and environmental industry, only to miss it so much that I came back. But it was those step out decisions that really advanced my career. So I'm not saying everyone has to leave their industry, but you have to be able to make sure you're getting enough diversity in your real life education that makes you more valuable to those that you'll work for in the future.